This is the process shot. I'm Michael. I'm not sure what to make of all of this, and this is Red Notice, a new action comedy film from director Rawson Marshall Thurber. Why he uses his full name, I don't know. Anyways, the movie follows John Hartley, an FBI agent tasked with preventing the theft of one of three rare Egyptian artifacts known as Cleopatra's eggs. He secures it from international art thief Nolan Booth, but the egg is stolen in turn by another thief, known only as the Bishop, who then frames Hartley for the theft. He and Booth are imprisoned together, and after refusing an offer from the Bishop, they decide to work together to track her down and arrest her, clearing Hartley's name and putting Booth back on top in the thieving game. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? The problem is that it's really not. The film is packed very densely with a lot of flashy locations, excellent stunt work, and Gal Gadot in a dress. But that last bit seems to be where the effort into Red Notice went. Or rather, that it went into the casting budget. This movie feels like a vehicle for the three leads, all of whom already have international recognition and can probably do better than what ends up being a pretty poorly structured movie. The focus seems to be more on the settings than the situations, with each major scene set in singular locations which could be anywhere in the world, were it not for scene transitions literally spelling out what country we're in now. Granted, there are a few gags dependent on some major identifying feature or landmark, but otherwise the settings are interchangeable. That may seem like a nitpick, but it's part of my bigger problem with Red Notice's writing, in that it tries to raise the stakes with every scene, but does so by making things bigger and more extravagant rather than more dangerous. The other problem I have here is how the movie tries to be character-driven, but fails to give the characters any actual character. Instead, it's more of a cast-driven film, in that it basically relies on the cast to carry the scenes through presence and performance. This is especially apparent in Booth, portrayed by Ryan Reynolds, who pretty much seems to use any free moment in the scene to fill dead air with some extended attempt at a joke that amounts to nothing, or at least helps to stretch the overall runtime of the movie to almost 2 hours. Conversely, Dwayne Johnson, as Hartley, does rather little in the way of dialogue, but does more in action scenes, which themselves can be impressive at times, but otherwise seem to come and go with little fanfare or story progression. Between the two, there's very little chemistry other than what the story requires them to have, a point made several times by Hartley without offering any solutions to fix it. As for Gal Gadot, she manages to have a better balance between action and comedy, but with the caveat of not actually being on screen for most of the film. Overall, the lack of any substance in their relationships seems to be a smaller version of the larger problem across Red Notice. For everything that it does have, it's only surface level. The action scenes are slick and choreographed rather well, but it only serves to put the characters back to square one at the end of the chase. Set pieces may be loaded with luxury and detail, or are located in exotic places, but those details don't really matter for anything more than the spectacle. Any sense of stakes being built up similarly does nothing more than raise the production budget. The lead actors may have charisma and personality on their own, but together, and with this script, it either goes unutilized, becomes underwhelming, or is just plain bad. There's nothing to say about the comedic aspects of the film because, quite frankly, Red Notice just isn't funny either. All I know for sure is that there's a setup for a sequel at the end, and knowing how this movie hinges its success entirely upon the appeal of the cast, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets its follow-up. I only hope that they let somebody else try their hand at the story, or else it's just going to be the same film all over again. Red Notice. Rawson Marshall Thurber, 2021. 1 star. I don't recommend watching it, obviously. I'm done here. If you like this review, you know the drill by now. Like, comment, sub, etc. By the way, this poster, Gal Gadot in a nice dress, one scene. There's only one scene that's this fancy.